Hello guys and welcome to Odds on Olympics Football. Let's analyze the football tournament. Very interesting one. Of course, the last champion was Brazil. Everything with Dani Physical. And remember, you can still leave a comment in the video. And of course, if you like it, press the like button. Don't forget to subscribe and click on the bell to get notifications. And now, let's go on with the show. We keep enjoying football in this summer, Dani, after the Euros, after Copa America. Now we have the Olympic tournament as well. How are you, Dani?
Hi, Edu. I'm great. I mean, we had just a very short break from the final on the 11th July, and now there is another major tournament. You know, someone says football isn't really an Olympic sport, but if you look at the kind of players that played recently in Olympics football, but there's a lot to enjoy, and a lot of emotions, a lot of big stars have played there, and a lot of big stars are playing this year. So I think it's definitely one to watch.
Exactly, and we saw, for instance, Dani, in Rio de Janeiro, how Neymar was the star to give Brazil the gold medal. What do you expect here in this tournament? What stars we have? Remember, of course, that only under 23 players can play, with some exceptions that of course.
Well, this is obviously a tournament that's been postponed a year, so technically it's an under 24 competition because the FIFA allowed, actually the CEO allowed to bring the same group of players. So obviously this is a very experienced group of players that is going to go to the tournament, and we also have to remember that each team can bring 3 players of any age, and we got people like Gignac, 35 years old, Ochoa, the Mexican goalkeeper, 34 years old. We got World Cup winners, Tuaven in the French squad. We have 6 players from Spain who played at the Euros. So obviously there is a lot of talent there, but there are also some young players, some young stars that perhaps the big public hasn't heard about, that this could be their opportunity to shine. In 1996, Brazil showed a young, promising striker with the number 10 on the shirt called Ronaldinho, where was actually Luis Nazario da Lima Ronaldo, who went on to do great things. So this could be a real great platform for them. It's a very simple tournament in terms of the format. So we go 4 groups, round robin. The 2 best teams in the group go through, and then there is knockout stage and 2 finals. The final for the gold medal on the 7th of August and the final for the bronze medal on the same day as well.
So let's start analyzing the outright odds market. Of course, we see here now all the odds that we have in Oddspedia, and we see Spain as big favorite to this tournament. The odds for them to win the gold medal is 3.0. You just mentioned, Dani, why they are the favorites, because they are playing with 6 football players that were already in the Euros, so they have a very, very experienced team, with the adding of Marco Asensio, for instance, the Real Madrid player. Spain, that they already know what is winning the gold medal. It was in Barcelona 92. Also, they won the silver medal in Sydney 2000, and after the 2 disappointments in Rio, where they didn't qualify, and in London, where they weren't good, now our hope is to get the gold medal.
Well, because you could count on Unai Simon, Eric Garcia, Pau Torres, Mikel Oyarzabal, Dani Olmo, and Pedri. We're not just talking about fringe players at the Euros. These are players who played pretty much every game. Asensio, you mentioned, is also Dani Ceballos. So this is the choice to bring a very experienced team, but also to give the 6 players who were at the Euros a little bit more time to experience international football. Because what we said during the videos we were doing at the Euros is that Spain is great, but they lack the little bit of experience sometimes, a little bit of a cutting edge, be a little bit more streetwise. And this is something that you gain only when you play international football. Now, will they be tired? They haven't had much rest, really. So this could be a difficult choice as well for the manager, because obviously they need to fly to Japan, acclimatize, not easy in Japan at the moment with all the COVID restriction. This was gonna feel very odd. There's gonna be no spectators, and obviously the jet lag. I'm really curious to see how much minutes they play, but nonetheless, I think the Spanish team is gonna be exciting. We saw it with Luis Enrique, 4-3-3, playing on the front foot, pressing high, and they're gonna face an opposition that is obviously more on their level of experience. They could struggle maybe with teams that sit back, as the national major, with the senior team did. But let's have a look. I think obviously everyone was going to be looking at Pedri. He played 52 times for Barcelona. He has played every minute at Euro 2020. So if he plays all the games, he could be the best player of the tournament by far. But I'm really interested to see what kind of formation they bring on, especially in the first games.
Spain, big favorite, odds 3.0. After we have Brazil, odds 3.9, gold medal in Rio, as I mentioned before, with Neymar as a star. But the thing is that they touch medal in the last 3 Olympics, silver in London and bronze in Beijing. And we have some big names here, Dani, Richarlison, and of course, Dani Alves, the winner of everything, that also he wants to win the gold medal.
38 odds Dani Alves, that's the last things he needs to win, so he will lead the team there. Again, strong mix of domestic and European-based players. Some players who played at the Copa America, for example, Richarlison, again, wondering how fit, how rested he's going to be. Surely a problem for Everton when the season starts. But, good mix. Diego Carlos from Seville, Douglas Luiz, who plays in England, Malcolm Reiner, Gabriel Martinelli, who had a good end of the season with Arsenal. Let's not forget, this is the team that has won the gold at the 2019 Under-19 FIFA World Cup. So we need to look at that kind of crop of players that come through. So obviously, Brazil, as you mentioned, a great experience in the Olympics tournament, but also a great experience in youth tournament. One to watch, probably Cunha. Very good record at this level. The striker, 18 goals in the last 19 appearances for the under-23 setting of Brazil. Play for Leipzig, has impressed with Hertha Berlin since 2020, so that's another one to watch. Their odds to win the tournament is 3.90. I think that could be a good bet. Don't forget though, they're going to be in a tough group. They're going to be with Germany and Ivory Coast. We're going to talk about this a little bit later. So obviously coming out of the group could be tough for Brazil, but then the road up to the final, it could be a little bit easier. But yes, definitely at 3.90, the winners, Brazil, considering the history and the tradition, that could be a good bet.
These are the 2 big favorites, Spain and Brazil. Then there is a huge gap with the other national teams. Then we have France, odds 7.0. They know how to win also the gold medal, but it was far away. Los Angeles, 84. And you mentioned before, Gignac, Thauvin, names that we all know. They are also in this France national team after what happened in the Euro. Even if it's a completely different squad, for sure, they want to put their name still up in the football world and win at least a medal here.
And France at youth level has been good and consistent through the years, always qualified for the finals of the Under-21 Euro Championship. In 2019, they won the bronze medal at FIFA Under-19 World Cup. So again, they are in the same league as Brazil, as we said before. Also other players that will feature Mbuku, who plays for Stade Rennes, then a good season. Pierre Kalulu, good end of the season with Milan for the defender. The odds is around 7 to win the group, I think, to win the title. They are in a group, could be tough, of course, because they play the host, Japan, and they go Mexico as well. And Mexico are a little bit of an Olympic specialists when it comes to that. They won the gold in 2012 in London when no one expected. So for France, I think this could be an important stepping stone for the development of these players. They probably are going to try to knock on the door of the first team managed by Deschamps. Very interested about Gignac, see what he can bring. 35 years old, physical players. He's been playing in the Mexican League for a couple of seasons. I haven't really kept a tab on him, but I remember at the Euro 2016 he was handful for the French. So yeah, let's see how it goes. But France again, another one to look out for, but careful. The first game, as I said, is France vs Mexico.
And we can bet, of course, Dani, in every single game in this tournament with the best odds with Oddspedia. We are analyzing here the outright odds, but we can place a bet in every single game of the tournament. In many markets, we can always check the best odds very easily in our website. And two other favorites for this tournament, although the odds are already high, is Argentina and Japan. Odds 9.0 for both of them. Japan, they are of course the hosts, and this is usually a help, but of course there is not gonna be attendance in the stadium, so there is probably not much of an advantage for Japan with Kubo as a star, whereas Argentina, that is a huge mix. They are always very competitive when it comes to football and when it comes to the youth level. But this team, there are players playing in 8 different nations, in 8 different tournaments. So it's going to be very difficult for the coach, Bocha Batista, to put everything together and have a competitive team.
And we can see these two national teams have chosen a very different approach, because Batista is taking only 23, 24 years old players. So basically he's taking the group that is taken through the ranks of the Argentinian youth football, with the only exception of the Cadiz goalkeeper Ledesma. But in reality he hasn't brought any extra players. Obviously they're missing Lucas Alario from Bayer Leverkusen because of an injury, but he got a good group of youth players. Between them Gaish, Benevento, got relegated with Benevento, but had a good season. Scored a famous goal in Turin to beat Juventus. McAllister, who played for Brighton. Ezequiel Ponce, who's been played in Europe quite a lot the last few years at Spartak Moscow. Whereas if you look at Japan, different approach for Moriyasu, because Moriyasu is not only the manager of this youth team, but he's also the manager of the senior team. So what he has done in the last 2-3 years, he has tried to blend the young players with the experienced players to get them ready for this historical appointment, which is the Olympics at home. So basically, he has enjoyed the fact to coach both teams. And for example, in the Copa America of 2019, he has taken a lot of eligible players for the Olympics to the Copa America to give them a run, to give them the experience of international senior football, and to get them more ready for this competition. Because let's face it, Japan doesn't really want to win the Copa America. It's just there to make up the numbers. But when it comes to the Olympics, even if you got an experienced side, and if you got a side that can boast also senior players like Yoshida, Sakai, Endo, Tomiyasu, you can have a chance. And I think that's the real strategy. For me, Japan, it's one of the favorites to go to a medal, I would say. Although, yes, the winning odds is 9, but check also bronze or silver medal, because their group is not, it's not so tough, but they can, I think, progress and do well. Obviously, we mentioned the players. Obviously, everyone was going to look at Kubo, spotted by Real Madrid, on loan with Villarreal, with Getafe. Now it's a very good opportunity for him. So I think the Japanese are gonna be up for it. And also, playing there, they are already used to the climate, to the time zone. Everything is there for them.
Imagine how the bookies trust them, that for the first game against South Africa, the victory of Japan only pays 1.27. So for sure they are bringing a very good team to their Olympics. And the last name I want to throw to you, Dani, is Germany. Odds for them 10.0, because they were runner-ups in Rio. They lost in the penalty shootout, and because they have a name like Max Kruse, that he's been doing a great season. He put his team in Europe. He's a historical name also for Germany.
33 years old, Kruse, Union Berlin, as you said, excellent season, 11 goals this season for Union Berlin. And Germany, they are the reigning under-21 European champions, but this is a different team. Stefan Kuntz has opted to take a complete different team to this tournament, perhaps to give other players a rest. So I think there is a bit of a question marks on Germany and how ready they're gonna be, because most of them probably haven't played a lot of senior football or top flight football. However, you mentioned Kruse is one of the three all over age players. You got Amiri, 24 years old, Bayer Leverkusen, we're just about in the age range. Maximilian Arnold from Wolfsburg, he's actually someone who played regularly senior football. So Germany is one to watch, but as I said before, the first game it's a tough one because they play Brazil, and Ivory Coast, which we'll mention later on, plays Saudi Arabia. So if Germany goes up to a bad start, only two teams qualify and they play one of the favorites, that could be an uphill struggle for them during the tournament.
Because we can place our bets on the outright market, as we are analyzing on every single game, of course, and we can also place our bets on the group winner. So let's go group by group, and you tell me, Dani, who do you spot, and make a quick analysis of these other teams that we have in the Olympic tournament. Starting with Group A, we have France favorite. We can see now the odds. France favorite, Japan later, then Mexico. They have Lainez, a player that I like a lot, from Betis, and South Africa, the poor team here, odds 17 to win this group.
Well, I think, the first game, Mexico-France, is going to tell us a lot. And whereas Japan have an easy one against South Africa. Usually when you win the first game, you're almost way there. As I said before, I fancy Japan to go far in this tournament. So betting on Japan to win the group at 375 could be a good bet. But, careful with Mexico. They won in 2012. At the 2019 FIFA World Cup, they won the silver. So now they play France, who were bronze in that World Cup. So they are a good team. You mentioned Lainez, 25 times for Betis. But strangely, Lainez is the only one that doesn't play in Mexico for this team. So all of them are based in Mexico. Actually, funny enough, they play against Gignac, who plays in Mexico as well. Ochoa, 35 years old. He played in the last 4 World Cup, and he was going to be joined by 2 very important players in the Club America, Henry Martin, 28 years old, and also they got Luis Romo, the defensive midfielder, who did really well with Cruz Azul. Actually, he was in Club America. And when we talk about these nations that they don't do well at the Olympics, this could be massive for Mexico. Like winning a medal in a sports team for Mexico could be massive. So I think there's a lot at stake for nations that, they don't normally go up in the medal table. So watch out for Mexico. But my bet is Japan to win the group, 375.
All right, then we go to Group B. Probably this is the less appealing of all. We have Korea Republic as the favorite with odds 2.0. And here we have Romania, New Zealand, and Honduras. Not a lot of stuff, Dani.
Korea Republic, they are 22 the odds to win the gold medal. Probably a bit much. There is obviously a little bit of home factor. Playing in Asia could help. South Korea, they have good players. I think Ujo plays for Bordeaux. He already scored for the national team, for the senior national team. Then they go Lee Dong-jun. Probably the biggest surprise could be Lee Dong-jun, the young player. He's a player who's done really well in the Korean league. Last season, he was about to move to Victoria Guimaraes. The move failed. Now he's done well in the warm-up games. So obviously the Korean, playing the high-tempo game, they could definitely trouble Honduras for sure. I mean, Honduras is a team that, really probably is the lowest ranked team here. No medals for Honduras in whatsoever sport in the last 11 editions of the Summer Olympic Games. Very difficult. You're going to pick up one. Romania, most of them, they play at home in the Romanian league, so this is a different team from the one that qualified in 2019. Now most of them, they've moved to the senior team. And then we got New Zealand. Probably New Zealand, check the odds for New Zealand to qualify ahead of Romania, maybe not as group winner but as second, because New Zealand, they can have a lot of experience. 13 players of New Zealand played in Europe, and they got Chris Wood, 50 Premier League goals in 4 years, so for Burnley, always in double figure. He has played 2010 World Cup, 2012 Olympics, 2 Confederation Cups, so obviously a lot of experience. Also, they go Winston Reid, who plays for Brentford and plays for West Ham, so it's a very experienced group that I think could do better than the Romanian and the Honduras for sure. So maybe Korea to win the group, New Zealand to qualify second.
Okay, then we have Group C. Here we have Spain and Argentina, for sure the 2 favorites to go through. Then Egypt, that Mo Salah tried to be in this team, but finally Liverpool didn't allow him to be in the Olympics. And Australia, here of course Spain favorite to win also the group.
Everyone expects Spain and Argentina to walk out this group. I don't think it's going to be as easy as people think it is. Because we talked earlier about Spain to be fatigued, bringing these 6 players to play at the Europe. But let's look at Egypt. Okay, all the Egyptians, they all play in the domestic league, apart from one who's Egazi, who used to play for West Bromwich Albion, if you remember, the tall defender. So the Egyptians have 6 players who play for Al Ahly. Al Ahly is the best team in Africa. They won the African Champions League this year. They are by far the best team in Africa for the last 5 or 6 years. They won 5 consecutive Egyptian leagues. So they got a very strong backbone of champions, of winners in their team, including the 32-year goalkeeper El Shanawi, who is the goalkeeper of the national team as well. The debut is going to be against Spain. We know the African team, they got that flair, they got that talent. Sometimes they surprise you with quick counter attacks. I don't think it's going to be easy for Spain. Obviously, yes, Spain, Argentina favorites to go through. We look at Australia as well. First time they participate in the Olympic men's football in the last 13 years, so quite important for the Australian to be there. And we're talking about a nation that usually does really well at the Olympics. Australia as a whole, both in team sport and individually, they're quite high up in the medal table. If we have to single out a player of Australia, probably look out for Harry Sutara. He's almost 2 meters tall, central defender in a way, but he played for Stoke City recently. He made 43 appearances, so already plays for the national team. So I think they're gonna be hard to beat if led by him, who had a good experience in the championship. But my bet would be, don't go crazy on Spain to win the group on this one. Be careful.
Imagine how the bookies are confident about the Spain and Argentina, that for the first game, Spain to beat Egypt is only 1.22 and Argentina to beat Australia is only 1.55. So for sure they are huge favorites in this group. And lastly, we have Group D with Brazil, Germany, Ivory Coast and Saudi Arabia, Dani.
Okay, here is the real value. Here could be the shocker. Ivory Coast, to win the tournament, he pays 101, okay? You think that's impossible, it's never gonna happen. I mean, if you look at the history of Ivory Coast, they only won 3 medals in the entire history of the Olympics, a gold, a bronze, and a silver. However, look at the squad they brought in this time. They got Bailey from Manchester United, Franck Essier from Milan, Saint-Étienne star Max Gradel is 33, but also Wilfred Singo from Torino, probably one of the best wing backs in Italy. Then you got Diallo from Man United, he's 19, he's an exciting player. Kwame used to play for Genoa and Fiorentina. The first game is against Saudi Arabia. I think they're gonna walk it. I mean, Saudi Arabia is a weak team. They only have domestic players. They don't have great stars. I think this is a tournament that Ivory Coast have really targeted to get a medal. Might not be winning it, 101 is a lot, but silver, bronze, I think is on the card. Also because I mean, Brazil and Germany, they're going to take points out of each other. So out of a sudden, Ivory Coast can go into the second game, perhaps only needing 1 point to qualify behind one of Brazil of Germany. And I fancy Brazil to be obviously hugely favorite for this one. So Brazil to top the group, 170. Ivory Coast to follow, I'm sure is a high odd. But look out for Ivory Coast and maybe check what kind of odds are for the medals.
You convinced me, Dani, 10 euros for Ivory Coast to win the tournament. Why not? And I get 1,000.
It's a strong team.
Why not? 1,000 euros.
Only two Ivory Coast players play in Ivory Coast, so they are scattered all over major leagues in Europe. You know, from Norway to Denmark to Portugal, there is everything, but there is the experience and there is the talent there. Remember, for these small nations, this is their World Cup. This is their target that they have been working for the last 5 years, unfortunately, not 4. But this is so important. For big nations, this tournament is not as important as for a nation like Ivory Coast.
Even the odds to win the first game you mentioned against Saudi Arabia is 1.85. So let's keep an eye, of course, on Ivory Coast. Also, we can take a look, or you guys can take a look at the female Olympic tournament. We have outright odds for them. We have also the best odds for every single game. Also in the women's tournament here, we can check now very fast the odds, and we see USA very favorite, odds 1.75. Then the Netherlands 7.5 and Great Britain 10.0. Also place your bets if you want in the women tournament. But Dani, we analyzed really good. You did actually the men's tournament. Very excited to enjoy the Olympics, and of course it's time to watch other sports, but I will keep an eye, I'm sure also you will, Dani, to the football tournament. Thank you very much.
Absolutely. See you soon. Enjoy the Olympics. Bye-bye.
I hope you have now more information to bet on this football tournament. Let me know what you think. Remember, in the comment section, and also, of course, don't forget to click on the like button if you enjoy it. Subscribe to our channel and click on the bell to get notifications. Or, if you prefer also, listen to our videos in our podcast. See you very soon.